Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Darrell Owens, and this is episode 169 of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Look, we're excited to be able to bring you today's episode, which we will talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs, which are currently going on in the thrust. So we also have the NFL draft that was just about over a week ago, which is just kind of crazy now, at least started a week ago, and now we have gotten the players where they need to be. Some undrafted free agents assigned where they need to go. We had a big controversy. And when it comes to Shedeur Sanders over this last draft. But we're going to get into all that here on episode 169 on 101, starting now on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and Bowie TV.
One. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to 101 at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Yes, everybody. Welcome to episode 169 of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and, of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Look, we got a lot to get into in today's episode. We're going to talk the NBA playoffs, kind of let you know how things are going with that right now. We also maybe a real quick update on the NHL just to say, hey, what's going on there? And then, of course, we're going to talk the NFL draft, which was the biggest topic over the weekend. And we want to get into all that and kind of give the recap and kind of see, I feel like I was close on some of these things and somehow it wasn't so much. I think that top five was a little bit easy to kind of, predict for most people. And it's not often that the top 5 or 6 kind of go a mock draft person's way. But it was a very interesting one. And I think for me, picks 1 through 7 kind of all were correct. Maybe one switcheroo, but due to a trade. But everything else was just right there. Everything else was just right there. And so let's talk about that NFL draft to get things started. First, here is the recap on the draft. At number 1, the Tennessee Titans select Cameron Ward, the quarterback out of Miami. This 6'4" kid can just do a little bit of everything. And they think that he could be that piece to kind of help Tennessee over the hump here, or maybe get them on the path to getting back over the hump. If they made some moves in the offseason, hoping to kind of, change the, projection of where this franchise is kind of going right now. And a good start is going with Cam Ward. Now, Cam Ward's probably going to be the most least talked about number 1 pick coming out of a draft weekend, because everything was focused on somebody else we'll talk about just a little bit later. So Cam Ward gets selected. It's all business. A lot of people talk about how, he came up there, plain suit, nothing flashy, just ready to do some work, just ready to go play football. That was one of his biggest things, man. He just wants to play football. Man, he ain't got no hobbies, man. He just wants to play football. So shout out to Cam Ward. Congratulations on being the number 1 overall pick for the Tennessee Titans. Now, they also have some things to figure out. I mean, will Levis still be there? Is that somebody eventually that gets traded? Will they leave him in as a backup? Who knows? But those are all questions that are going to be answered here over the next couple of months. At number 2, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who moved up from number 5 to jump Cleveland. And then, of course, the Giants and the Patriots to make sure they get the guy that they wanted. And that guy was Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner, the cornerback / receiver out of Colorado. They kept telling people, hey, there's going to be a splash. We're going to do something that nobody's kind of thinking about. And, the Jaguars' new GM wanted to make a splash, and he did just that. Now, they traded and gave us some picks to Cleveland in order to jump there. But in the process, Cleveland got themselves set up for next year, because let's say that, Jacksonville is trash next year. Cleveland's got a chance to really garner some picks, because they at least right now, I believe, have 2 number 1 picks next year kind of locked in. So we'll see where that kind of goes. But Jacksonville gets their guy. They pick up Travis Hunter, who will give Trevor Lawrence another weapon, and of course do some things on the defensive side of the ball. He's made it very clear, hey, I want to play both sides of the ball. And Jacksonville, they're very adamant about making that happen. And I think this is a great move for Jacksonville because you get the guy who's probably the most talented player in the draft at number 2. You didn't have to move up to number 1, but you get him at number 2, and you get a guy who's got star power. Like, fans are going to come to see Travis Hunter play in Jacksonville. So congratulations to Travis Hunter. He's the number 2 pick overall. At number 3, the New York Football Giants took who a lot of people thought was probably the best prospect in this draft, probably the best defensive player in this draft, but an injury kind of derailed maybe his chances of being number 1, because at one point they were talking, hey, it's Carter. Then some things happen, and it ends up not being the case. So Carter ends up going number 3 to the New York Football Giants, and now they got just a couple of pass rushers. Defense continues to get a little bit better. I like what they did, bringing Carter in to go along with Thibodeau. So that's going to be really fun to kind of see. I'm trying to just wanted to see how they kind of keep going along with it. But that's not the only move that the Giants had. Well, there's another thing we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. At number 4, the New England Patriots drafted Will Campbell, the offensive tackle from LSU. Drake May needed protection, and that's what they're going to get. And Will Campbell will come in and be that guy to help try to anchor this new New England Patriots offensive line. At number 5, after Cleveland moved back from number 2, they picked up Mason Graham, who's going to go right alongside Mr. Oh, man, I'm having a whole brain fart. But Myles Garrett, I don't know where I went with that one, but Myles Garrett, he'll come in and help Myles Garrett on that D-line and try to create some pressure. So if you're Cleveland, you get the best defensive lineman in this draft, and you get him at 5. At 6, the Las Vegas Raiders get their running back and Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty is from 5'10", 5'11"-ish, but, man, the guy's dynamic. Almost got Barry Sanders' all-time record for rushing yards in college football. I believe he missed it by like 28 yards. So they bring him into Vegas to give them that running threat. At 7, the New York Jets go with Armand Mbu, who will come in and try to help solidify that offensive line. So that's another thing that they kind of needed going there, especially after everything that's happened in the last couple of years. But they're trying to have someone there that can help protect Justin Fields. At number 8, Tetaroa McMillan, a.k.a. T-Mac, goes to the Panthers. And, the Panthers, they needed a receiver. Some people thought they would go defense. I think I may have had them going defense in this spot. But McMillan will definitely give Bryce Young another threat. And come to find out, and I didn't find this out until the draft, they had been working together leading up into this. And Bryce Young said, hey, go, he wants McMillan. And there it is. McMillan is a Carolina Panther. Now, moving on to the next half. The Saints at number 9. This is where I thought Shedeur Sanders was going to go. Boy, was I wrong. The Saints decided to go offensive tackle with Calvin Banks Jr. out of Texas to come in and help, recapture that offensive line. And to me, I thought it was still like, this is your quarterback spot if you're going to take it. They decided not to do it. And it's a little bit tough because I don't know. But like I said, we'll get into all that in a minute. And it's just really sad that that's not what ended up happening here at 9. But Calvin Banks, congratulations. They're going to New Orleans to help protect Derek Carr if he actually plays this year, or at least Spencer Rattler. At number 10, Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. Now, this was probably the first real big surprise, because I thought Tyler Warren would definitely go before Loveland in this draft. I thought Tyler Warren was the best tight end in this draft, but the Bears had a higher grade on Loveland. They go with the Michigan tight end. And so he will come in to go with Cole Kmet. So now that gives him a 2 tight end set. And that's what Ben Johnson and that crew want to kind of do out there to go, they're going to piggyback a little bit of what that Detroit offense has done over the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. At number 11, the San Francisco 49ers go with Mikael Williams, the edge rusher out of Georgia, to help boost that defensive line. The Dallas Cowboys at 12 go with Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama. Zach Martin retiring this year. They lost 2 of their veteran offensive linemen this year to retirement. And so they go get Tyler Booker, who is probably the best interior lineman in this draft, at number 12. At 13, the Miami Dolphins. Now, this is a place where I thought Miami was going to go offensive line, but they decided to go defensive line and go with Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. to go in there and try to plug up some holes on defense. But he will go to Miami at 13. At 14, now this is where Tyler Warren goes. And if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan, this is what you wanted. I know the Colts are extremely happy they were able to get Tyler Warren here, the Mechanicsville prodigy, right up the road from me, probably about like 30 minutes out there, in Mechanicsville. He played his high school ball out there. So he goes 14 to the Indianapolis Colts. At 15, Jalon Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia. The Falcons finally did what they needed to do. They said, hey, man, we just went all offense the last couple of years, and they finally go defense. Not once, but twice here in this first round. And like I said, we'll get to that in just a little bit. But Walker goes in there, gives him some a great young defensive pass rusher to go in there and try to help this Falcons defense continue to grow. At 16, Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss, will be heading to Arizona. And I like the move there. I think I had Nolan going 11 to San Francisco. So for the Cardinals to grab him at 16, that's just magic for them. Heading to 17 through 24. Now, Shamar Stewart, and we've had most of our experts that have come on here, Cody, Lamont, James, and Jay, all said the same thing pretty much about this guy. And that was that he could be, pretty much like he could be the steal of this draft and the best defensive player to come out of this draft, or it could be, a little hit or miss there. So that'll be interesting to see where he kind of does out there in Cincinnati, but they needed defense. Defense was a key factor for this Cincinnati team heading into this draft, especially with the, not knowing what Trey Hendrickson is going to do. At 18, the Seattle Seahawks go with Gray Zabel, the offensive tackle out of North Dakota State. This man comes in with a lot of, highly touted, and, Seattle, once again, trying to find pieces to protect Sam Darnold, their newly minted quarterback that they signed here in the offseason. So I like the move there. They definitely help improve their offensive line. At 19, Emeka Egbuka, I always destroy that, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Now, for Jay, this is probably the best thing ever because for those who know Jay is a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, but he's also a huge Ohio State fan. So to get one of his receivers to go to his team, it's a big deal. But he's definitely going to be an interesting spot here for Tampa Bay because, they had other needs. They could have went secondary here, but they decided to go wide receiver. And, with the injuries to Chris Godwin, and, I was a little surprised because McMillan, I thought, played well last year. But with the injuries to Godwin, it kind of left things up in the air a little bit. But I do love the move here. At number 20, Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas. Now, I really thought that the Broncos would probably go running back here. I thought this was going to be a Marion Hampton, maybe even a tight end if there was one that they felt comfortable at this spot. But they go with Barron to kind of pair him up with Patrick Surtain. So that's going to be a fun little tandem out there in Denver. At 21, Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon. Now, this is a spot where a lot of people in their mocks had Shedeur Sanders going or Jackson Dart. And the Steelers opted out and said, we're not going to go quarterback. We're going to go defensive tackle with Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon. And so it was a lot of Steelers fans in shock that this happened. But shout out to Derek Harmon, and prayers go out to his family. Right after he got drafted, his mom passed away not too long after this. It might have been even, I believe it was even at night where his mom passed away. So prayers going out to the Harmon family. And it's a very tough thing, especially when you're so excited about what's happening, everything that's happening and everything is kind of getting set up for your life. And then unfortunately you have to deal with the death of your mother. So our prayers go out to Derek Harmon and his family. At 22, the Los Angeles Chargers going with Marion Hampton. Now, running back here, I don't hate this move because, they could have went other ways. I thought they would go either tight end, maybe even receiver here, but I love the running back move. Gus Edwards last year, he was a big piece to this puzzle, but it doesn't hurt to have more running back power. And Hampton is, in a lot of people's eyes, maybe the best back in this draft. He's one or two. He's one or two in most people's eyes. At 23, the Green Bay Packers, for the first time since 2002, said, you know what? We're going to draft a receiver. Now, I still can't get over it. Like I've been y'all know that I'm a Packer enthusiast. I've been a Packer enthusiast for, I don't know, since I was 7. And, this is year 33, 34, whatever, being an enthusiast of the Packers. And I was blown away. All those years of Aaron Rodgers, why you not draft a receiver? Never happens. The one year that I said to myself, yes, I think the receiver needs to be drafted, but I wasn't expecting it to be in the first round. I mean, it's been 20, 22, 23 years. So I wasn't expecting it. And they decided to go receiver. Matthew Golden, receiver out of Texas. Very tough physical, receiver. Now, he's a little shorter. I think he's like 5'11". But, man, his catching rate is amazing. So it's going to be great to see how Golden does in Green Bay. He was very excited walking out. The fans were showing him some love, especially with the draft being in Green Bay. Still kind of shocked that the Packers went receiver at one. And then Savion Williams, who they drafted from TCU, they drafted another receiver like 2 rounds later. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? But, hey, whatever. I knew they were going to draft a receiver after all the drops last year. So I was just a little bit surprised. At 24, the Minnesota Vikings go with Donovan Jackson, the offensive guard out of Ohio State. Ohio State had a really good first round if you're not, catching the drift on that. But the defending national champions now. Jackson goes in there, help, protect J.J. McCarthy. So that's a little Ohio State and Michigan love going on in that situation at 24. Now we head into the bottom part of the draft. This is where it started to get a little funky because we had the first trade earlier with Hunter, getting selected by the Jaguars after they moved up with the Falcons. Then we saw, not the Falcons, with the Browns. Then we saw the Giants come up, take the Texans slot, moving the Texans out of the first round, and they selected Jackson Dart. Now, this is another situation where I thought, hey, this was going to be Shedeur Sanders for sure. Wrong. Not Shedeur Sanders. Jackson Dart. And a lot's coming out that Shedeur Sanders just wasn't, the interview didn't go well. But we'll get into that in a few minutes as well. But Jackson Dart goes to the Giants at 25. At 26, the Falcons, they move up, trade with the Rams. They get James Pierce Jr. edge. So that's 2 defensive players drafted by the Falcons in the first round. At 27, Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia, going to go get paired up with Kyle Hamilton. That's going to be a nice duo out there in Baltimore. I love the pick by Eric DeCosta and the crew out there in Baltimore. At 28, Talik Williams, defensive tackle, Ohio State, as the Lions trying to get some depth, they on that defensive line, especially all the injuries that they had last year, just in general. Any piece they can get to kind of help continue the growth there is going to be critical. At 29, you got Josh, I always say it wrong, Connerly Jr., the offensive tackle out of Oregon, going to the Washington Commanders. They bulk up that offensive line, giving it a little power, giving it a little bit of strength. And so, to me, I think they're really trying to make sure Jaden Daniels is protected extremely well. And Connerly Jr. is definitely a great piece out there for the Washington Commanders. Now, the Commanders only had 5 picks, and a lot of people think that their draft went extremely well. At 30, Maxwell Harrison, the cornerback out of Kentucky, going to Buffalo. My man Lamont Thomas hit this one right on the head in his mock draft. Harrison going to Buffalo to help, shut down receivers out there in the AFC East. At 31, it's this last trade in the round, 31 and 32 flipped, where the Chiefs, where the Eagles jumped up one slot so they can get Jahad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama, who is one of the greatest tacklers in Alabama history. He will now be an Eagle. The Eagles are loaded with Georgia players and Alabama players. It is out of control. They just took all of those great college players from those teams and said, "Come join us." And that's what they pretty much have done. And at 32, the Kansas City Chiefs decided to go with Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. So there it is, first round of the draft. I thought it was a good first round. Now, still shocked that Shedeur Sanders did not get picked in this first round. But guess what, y'all? It got worse. For those who didn't watch the draft, and if you haven't heard about everything that went on with Shedeur during the draft process, then you must have been asleep this weekend. So, Shedeur gets drafted. Shedeur gets drafted in the 5th round, 144 overall to the Cleveland Browns. Now, a lot of people were shocked, and including myself. I mean, look, Shedeur Sanders to me was easily the second best quarterback in this draft at minimum. There's a lot of people that had him at number one over Cam because of his accuracy and his ability to, his toughness and his ability to make plays. And no, he kept falling. And people that I never heard of were getting picked over him. And the fall continued all the way to the fifth round. And it's crazy because Cleveland, one of the teams that needed a quarterback, with Deshaun Watson being injured and him not probably playing this year. You got Joe Flacco, who's, pretty much a bridge quarterback. Kenny Pickett, who's now on his third stop, but he is a Super Bowl champion. So shout out to Kenny Pickett. And then they went and drafted Dylan Gabriel from Oregon before they even drafted Sanders. So now they have 5 quarterbacks in their quarterback room. So a lot of people were just shocked that, that Sanders would fall this far. And if I had to be real honest with you, I do not know why this is happening, or why it happened, I should say. Yes, there's a lot of theories. Some people say it's race. There's a lot of people that say, because they said Sanders was arrogant. And there's a lot of people that say that Dion plays a big role in it because, of his big presence. And a lot of coaches were afraid that they draft him, that they're on the hot seat if things don't go well the next season, that Dion's going to come in and take their job. These are all interesting, but maybe valid reasons that this could be the case. But the one that I thought was the most interesting that kind of made sense to me, and or maybe I don't know why it made sense to me, but it kind of did. There's a gentleman online, and I wish I would have his name so I can shout him out. But he said, what if this was just one of those things where people was like, look, we already know the deal. Ill what it ill, he's going to get drafted, obviously, but let's try to get those rating up for day 3. The first 2 nights of the draft, big ratings every year. Day 3 still give you big ratings because there's some dedicated fans, but what could make day 3, even more, exciting? Well, why don't you have the guy who a lot of people saw was the number 1 or number 2 best quarterback in this draft slide all the way down to the 5th round? Have a couple of quarterbacks, drafted over top of him, and now all of a sudden they probably shouldn't have been drafted over him. And people are like, man, what is this? Why is this happening? Now people are invested in watching in day 3 until he gets drafted. So I thought it was very interesting theory. Now, like I said, I don't know why it made a little sense to me that could be something, but I mean, look, we got to be honest with you. Ratings are very important. So I wouldn't have been surprised if that is something that could have happened. But I will say this. To me, there's no way he should have dropped this far. There was a lot of opportunities, a lot of teams that, the Saints definitely need a quarterback, which they did draft quarterback, but they went with the young man from Louisville, and I can't even think of his name. I don't even remember him from last year, and I know I probably saw him play once, but he gets drafted before him. Jalen Milroe. Now, Milroe is one guy that I could accept it because of how he was kind of rated going into the season last year, so I could kind of accept Milroe. But it was just something about him not getting the nod that kind of really bothered me, or them waiting to the 5th round. But here's the thing: kid's got a chance to shine. He's got a chance to make some really good things happen. I'm excited to see what he's able to do out there in Cleveland. They need a franchise quarterback. They have been looking for years. They drafted Baker Mayfield, they drafted Johnny Manziel, all that stuff, and it just hasn't panned out. We'll see if he is the answer there in Cleveland. But it just something about this whole situation just rubbed me the wrong way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the last thing that I want to talk to you all about, the NBA draft. Not the NBA draft, that's a couple months from now. The NBA playoffs, which are going on right now. And actually, as we're recording this, the Houston Rockets are playing the Golden State Warriors. The Minnesota Timberwolves take on the Lakers at 10 o'clock as I'm recording this. Now, currently in those series, the Lakers are down 3-1 to Minnesota. And so that game is in LA, and it's a big game. It's a huge game because there's going to be a lot of questions that are going to have to be answered if the Lakers cannot pull off this game tonight and they end up getting eliminated in the first round. So, they bring in Luka. They made some, questionable moves, but it seemed like they had worked. But if that doesn't fly through and the Timberwolves knock them out, man, oh man, that's going to be a huge thing. Then another game that's going on. The Rockets are taking on the Golden State Warriors as we speak while this is being recorded. It's 49-24. Rockets are up. They're down 3-1 in the series to the Warriors. But the Rockets definitely they needed to come out strong, and they have done that so far. This Rockets team is young and very talented. But what I think they ran into is a very tough, physical team with Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry. There's 4 championship rings between, that they have won together, Draymond and Steph. Then you got a guy like Jimmy Butler who is as hungry as it possibly can for a ring. He's been to 2 NBA finals, and he wasn't able to complete the job. He's hungry. The Warriors are probably one of the most dangerous 7 seeds you'll ever see, and that's why this is very dangerous for the Rockets. But they need to get a win to extend that series. Now, the other part, we got Denver and the Clippers. That series is tied up that series is 3-2 Denver. Denver, who fired their coach, Mark Malone, right before the playoffs started. So there was a lot of controversy with that. But Denver has a chance to knock off the Clippers and move on to the next round, where they would face, if they can win, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who swept the Grizzlies, another team that fired their coach, I won't say midseason, but as they're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. Still think that was a crazy move. The Thunder right now currently the only team that have advanced into the second round of the Western Conference Finals. That's as of while this recording is going on. And I got to just want to make sure y'all know, on the east side of things, the Cleveland Cavaliers decimated the Miami Heat. And as a Miami Heat fan, I'm glad that it happened. It needed to happen. I didn't want them to make the playoffs. I needed this to happen. But Cleveland moves on 4-0. They will take on the Indiana Pacers, who defeated the Bucks 4-1 in their series. And that had a little controversy at the end because of Tyler Halliburton's father coming out on the court taunting Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that became a whole thing. And then I think Mathurin went out there and whispered something, and Giannis, they were hugging at first, and he said something slick to Giannis. They about to fight. So, the Bucks are eliminated. Doc Rivers once again fails to move on. I just, stay away from Doc, y'all. We got Cavaliers and Pacers in the next round. The Celtics, they beat up on the Magic in their series, winning that one 4-1. The Magic have a good team, a young team, but they're still building, and they still need some more pieces. The defending champions move on. They're going to take on the winner of the Knicks and the Pistons, which will happen when about time this air, about an hour and a half from now when this airs. So that the Knicks have a chance to punch the ticket, move on, see if they can beat the Pistons. But the Pistons will not go down without a fight. All right, everybody. That has been episode 1. It's been episode 169 here, 101. And we want to thank everybody for tuning in and being a part of this. Like, we're very excited to be able to be with you guys again. We thank you all for tuning in for another great episode. Hope you enjoyed the episode. You want to go back and listen to other episodes, you can go to the Bowie TV YouTube page. You can go to the Legacy Maker YouTube page. You can go to the show, the 101 with Darrell Owens on iTunes and all that fun stuff. So Spotify, you can go check us out on there. But once again, everybody, thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you for watching another edition of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. And of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. It's going to be fun. The NFL season is slowly creeping up. We'll probably be back in 2 weeks when the NFL schedule comes out to talk a little bit about that. Until then, we'll see you all next time. I'm your man, Darrell Owens. Until then, peace.
One. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop.